Hello and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I am Jared Jones, Director of Investments and Lead Advisor here at Omega Wealth Management. Joining me, as always, is Lisa Kirschenbauer, Founder and President here at Omega Wealth Management in Arlington, Virginia. How are you today, Lisa?
Doing well, Jared. Good to be here. We are definitely into the summer here.
Yep, it has started post Memorial Day weekend. It is officially summer. For today's episode, as the title indicates, we're doing this show to bring you our different perspectives, and we definitely hope to do that on a couple topics today around money, markets, and life, whether it's through the lens of gender, generation, or political orientation. We hope to inform and, more importantly, entertain you. So today we're going to talk about two topics, but out of that will come, I guess, multiple talking points. The first one is last episode, we said, the Q1 trends, all the bubbles and, speculation trends had been dying. Well, this week we saw the resurgence of AMC. So we're going to dig into that and meme stocks in general. And then we're going to talk about, it looks like things are slowly getting back to normal and people are starting to be called back into the office. So we're going to talk a little bit today about maybe new office attire. There's a good article coming out in the Wall Street Journal. And what are companies doing to get people back into the office? What are people who are being called back into the office and don't want to go doing? And what are others that aren't being called back into the office at all doing with their kind of remote nomad lifestyle? So a lot to unpack and dig into there. In the future, we'll be providing these updates, hopefully on a regular basis, and ideas for you to ponder and connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel. As always, we always say this now, but go ahead and subscribe to YouTube. That's how you get the updates that a new episode has been posted before we can, push it out through all of our social media sites. So go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and dig into the topics. So the first one, AMC is back. The movie theater chain, it had another, as we know, GameStop was very popular earlier on in this year with a huge run up in their share price. AMC, to a lesser extent, followed that trend, but now it went away. The bubble popped, and now it's blowing back up again. Pulled back slightly at the end of this week the week after Memorial Day. But I think it's a bigger trend going on here that I think meme stocks are here to stay. So what are your thoughts, Lisa?
We did think it was maybe working from home, a pandemic experience, but yeah, it does seem like, at least for the moment. Now, I would say we'll know better by September when people are starting to get back to work and really back into their lives. Do they have other things to do? Are they back to betting on other stuff? But in the meantime, I do think, as we were talking about before the show, is that, your generation is used to being online. And used to maybe calling their own shots, controlling their own investments a little bit more. And so and it's sort of fun. I mean, it's especially when you're on the upside of it. I feel a little bad sometimes for companies like AMC, where they've got to report to shareholders that they're trying to thread the needle with the SEC, because the SEC is getting a little worried about all this trading action, but they're trying to keep their company together. I mean, they've been through a roller coaster. And it's interesting to see how they're dealing with it. Like, they sold some shares to a private equity company, I think, this week, and got a little bit of heat for that. And at the same time, they're having to put out a notice to shareholders that, hey, maybe the stock isn't worth what it looks like right now. That this isn't the fundamentals behind it. It's really just a trading phenomena. But I think we're going to see these kind of things here for a while at this point. I mean, we've got free trading. I think the only way it would go away is if all of a sudden all these brokerage firms started to put commissions back in. Then that would probably slow it down.
Yeah. I think the most interesting point of this is it wasn't the retail side that initially started this with AMC. It was a private hedge fund equity that saw the opportunity to pull a little bit of a short squeeze off like last time. So when when there are shares that are shorted, so people betting that the stock price is going to decline, which seems like a reasonable idea with AMC and movie theaters. But so a hedge fund kind of ran up the share price. Once it crosses a certain point, more shareholders have to buy the shares to turn in their bets, more or less. So that makes it run up even more. And then you have retail investors pile in, which causes it to go up even further. So that's kind of where the wheels get going. But yeah, you mentioned it earlier. I do think that this is meme stock trading is probably going to be a trend here to stay. At least with my generation, I feel like, I was telling you, I grew up most of my life with high-speed internet, and that's just the world that my generation and millennials, and I guess the tail end of Gen X live in. So as we see these trends online, we're probably more likely to act on them when it comes to investing, because investing in general is confusing and people don't understand it. But Robinhood has done a really good job of getting out there and marketing itself. It makes it easy to set up an account, it makes it easy to trade. So the friction, rather than going into a Schwab or a Fidelity and sitting down and talking with someone and filling out paperwork to set up a brokerage account, has been kind of removed from this whole equation. And you include commission-free trading. It's kind of democratizing investing, but it's teaching lessons that may or may not be good for investors' long-term lives. But that's where I think it is.
Yep.
I wonder what companies are going to be doing next to kind of catch this wave of meme stock trading. How do I, as a company, become the next GameStop or the next AMC, where people are talking about me, and my share price is also going up as well?
But do you want to become the next? I mean, it's a little hard to run your company and have to report to shareholders every quarter when your stock is all over the place and has nothing to do with actually how the business is doing. I mean, this is all happening simultaneously as we're opening up, and movie theaters had a big long weekend, Memorial Day weekend. I mean, relatively, they don't have very many movies to put out right now, but what they do have, it was definitely an improvement over the last 15 months. So, here's your fundamentals, but here's what's happening on the trading. Like, what do you say to investors? I don't know. I'm not sure if I was the CEO. It's a mixed bag. And like I said to you, boy, you've got to have somebody at your company watching your stock like every moment, and then trying to like sell stock when you can at a high price. They took a whole bunch of debt on early in the pandemic. Try to clear that debt while you can, but it's like a huge roller coaster ride that you're not controlling. So
I think it's probably the finance team doesn't want it to happen, but the marketing team absolutely does. Like, how many people are going to AMC theaters again and GameStops because they've seen it in the headlines? So.
Oh, and did you hear that you, like, as a shareholder, I think you can get free popcorn this summer?
There you go. So the marketing team is at it, trying to figure out how to ride this wave a little bit, it looks like.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what happens. Again, I think we'll want to revisit this probably September, October, to see, if we're still seeing, whether it's AMC, GameStop, whatever. There's some other companies that are being chased right now as well. If that's still out there come the fall, yeah, I would say that this is just how investing is going to be, in a part of the market going forward.
Right. Yeah. So the other topic we wanted to dive into is kind of the, more or less, for lack of a better way to tee it up, is the return to normal. Mask mandates are easing in businesses, and people are slowly feeling like they can come out of the long, dark quarantine phase of life. And companies are starting to look around and say, hey, where's all of our employees? And we're hearing more and more people being asked to come back into work. So that opens up a number of questions. What do you do if you're called back in? What do you wear to the office if you're called back in? Or if you're not called back in, how do you decide to live your life?
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack, as we were talking about before we started the show. I think if you're a CEO and you're actually reading any of the literature that's out there, about the smart way to open back up, you've got to understand that asking people to come back 5 days a week with absolutely no flexibility for teleworking, working from wherever, that kind of thing, is going to be a little challenging, especially in this labor market, right? I mean, this is it's tight in certain parts of the labor market. It's sort of odd. We still have a lot of people unemployed. There's some reasons for that, which we'll unpack another day, and I think many people are reading about and looking at. But it's competitive, and certainly for us, the way we're approaching it is, 3 days in, sort of core days, Tuesday through Thursday, Monday, Friday, working from home. And I can't imagine, and if there are some times where we might come in more for whatever reason, but otherwise, I think that flexibility is here to stay. And it's amazing to me that big employers, I'll put the federal government aside from the moment. And also, if you're in a very like technology, very secure, like have to be in-house, that's a whole different thing. But for everybody else, a lot of other knowledge workers, geez, I think you got to have a little more flexibility with your employees. And obviously, we've all been home for so long that there's this clothing issue out there. So maybe you can talk about the article that you and I were looking at, and I'll rant and rave a little bit about that after you say your points about it.
Yeah, we'll try and link to the article in the show notes so everyone watching this can read it. But in summary, I think office wear, after after everyone's been wearing sweatpants and t-shirts at home working for a year, I think office attire is going to be re-examined like much of other things in our society. We're going to take a look at it and go to this new normal that we talk about. One of those things, probably office attire. So I would look to see maybe some more less formal trends. I think, untucked shirts are popular amongst young men. Women fashion is a mystery to me. It's so easy as a guy in the workplace, just put on a pair of khakis or a suit and you're fine. Women have a much harder go at that. So I'll let you comment on the female side of things. But as a man, I think tennis shoes are like more formal tennis shoes are becoming accepted in the workplace. It's not uncommon to see like leather tennis shoes now with a suit. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that. Ties are basically dead, and they have been. They were dying before the pandemic, but I don't. Most people don't wear ties anymore. I guess if you're older, you still wear a tie, but most younger people
you're
don't.
going to the Supreme Court. You're $1,000 an hour attorney. And you work in the government and, like in a cabinet level role kind of thing. Yeah, you're probably still wearing a tie, but everybody else, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, it depends on what you're doing, who you're in front of during the day, but general trends look like things are becoming less formal.
Yeah. And, I think what was interesting in that article, there were a couple of things. Men versus women. Women were more likely to either start dressing up more or at least maintain whatever they had been at. Men were less, and it was like 51% when you put those two pieces together. And then there was a portion, that was going to be less formal. For men, the numbers were lower as far as being more formal or staying where you are. So clearly, I'm not quite sure what that's about, why women are sort of like, and I don't know if it's just wanting to wear nicer clothes or fancier clothes or whatever. I don't think that's stopping people from buying luxury goods. Like you were talking about leather sneakers. We were at Omega all fans of Allbirds, which are wool or bamboo. We've all got multiple pairs of them. They're really comfortable. They're warm in the winter. Actually nice in the summer too. And so it's not that they're cheap. I mean, so we're not talking about cheap clothing. We're just talking about comfortable clothing. And honestly, a lot of people are still trying to get their waistlines back. So it's not like they could put their old clothes on, right?
Well, that was a trend. You can buy the stretchy, comfy pants. Khakis are good for guys. Like most pants have stretch to them now. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. And, the other interesting piece of data in the particular article we're talking about is they didn't even ask anybody over 46, so I'm feeling a little left out demographically, like, what's the deal? I mean, do we not count anymore? Or, I mean, you have to wonder, is it that real retailers are focused on that 45 and down range? Or is it like it wasn't an interesting set of data to ask, actually that's most of the Xers and boomers. So I don't know, sort of fascinating looking.
Maybe after 46, you're already established in your career. You have a certain status level at that point. You can wear what you want.
Yeah, but I wanted to see the numbers on that. And the other thing, if you looked at that article carefully, the people who were going to dress up the most were the 18 to 25-year-olds. I thought that was fascinating. So that's a little counterintuitive to what you were saying, Jared, but they're also the people who are just coming into the workforce who may feel like they need to, step it up, get rid of the college clothing, their high school clothing or whatever, because you are young and there's a sense of looking a little bit more serious. I don't know. There were just some really interesting pieces of data missing, interesting pieces of data that were a little counterintuitive. But, if you're a retailer, I mean, we're already seeing this so much more athleisure, just not cheap, but more comfortable. I mean, that's the key. Is it's not like it's cheap. But you can spend a lot of money on a t-shirt, and khakis and comfortable shoes.
Yeah, just look at Lululemon, right? They have,
Oh yeah,
then they have khaki pants. They're like the comfy athleisure khakis. They're like $100. So
yeah.
It's not cheap, but it's
yeah. So it's going to be interesting, and it's as a business owner, I mean, this is a challenging time to navigate through, who's vaccinated, who's not, what do we do about having clients back in the office? I mean, this is all the stuff that we're unpacking in our business right now. And everything that I read around leadership and management is that you need to be empathetic, you need to be flexible, you need to listen, you need to check in with folks, not just make these declarations. And I think be ready to pivot. I think as people get back into the office, things may change. I know we have found that getting to connect with each other has been fabulous. It's honestly more efficient sometimes when you can just pop into somebody's office, sit down and solve something, and it's not 10 emails later and you still are not quite hitting on the communication. So there's pros and cons, maybe sometimes less productive at the office. But actually, I was talking to one of our colleagues yesterday who said, I'm actually more productive in the office. So I think understanding and talking to your team members about where are they productive? What are we missing? How can we get that back? Do you have some new employees starting? We have a new associate starting on Monday, and we're all committed to being in the office with him as much as possible, still maintaining some of our flexibility, because we know that that's important to the learning.
Yeah, and as an employee, I think we'll see a lot of voting with your feet, right?
Yep.
If you're dictated that you need to be in the office 5 days a week, all it takes is a competitor to say, hey, we're offering flexible work schedule, come work for us. How long are you willing to say 5 days a week while your employee base is going to work for other companies? So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it'll be like a 2-year probably time frame where this all gets sorted out. Maybe faster. I don't know, but it'll be an interesting transition for everyone.
Yep. Well, maybe we can save that other piece about the upscale nomads out there for next time, because I think that was sort of interesting. And people are making some different choices about their living and working situation that I think may be here to stay for a while.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Feel free to give us a comment if you have any thoughts of your own. We'd love to see that, and like and share these as you see fit. So have a great rest of your day, and look forward to doing more of these.
Take care.